Hey there, it's that mama. And a while back, I viewed a Papa Meets coverage of Stalkers, the horrors of online stalking. And most of the stalkers were men in this coverage. So I got to thinking about, are there women stalkers out there just as bad? I started researching and I found some stories. I dug deep. I want to cover some of those stories. So here is the first precise probe of Women Who Stalk, Part 1, Megan Meier story. Megan Taylor Meier was a bright and kind-hearted teenager with dreams, insecurities, and the everyday struggles that come with being a young girl. But in 2006, at just 13 years old, Megan's life took a tragic turn. One that would shake the internet world and ignite a conversation about women, stalking, and cyberbullying that still echoes today. This is her story. Born on November 6, 1962, in Missouri, Megan was a fun loving, artistic, and compassionate girl. She, like many teens, struggled with self esteem and was diagnosed with AD and depression at an early age. From third grade in 2001 to 2002, after Megan had told her mother she wanted to kill herself, Megan had been under the care of a psychiatrist. She had been prescribed, now see if I can get these, citalopram, an antidepressant that has a possible side effect of increasing suicide risks in young people, methylphenidate, and the atypical antipsychotic zipridone. Megan had been diagnosed with attention deficit disorder, depression, and self-esteem issues regarding her weight. Despite all the setbacks, Megan Meier was described by her parents as a bubbly, goofy girl who enjoyed spending time with her friends and family. Despite her challenges, she found joy in sports and friendships. But so many of us, Megan also sought validation, especially online. Megan had one good friend. Her name was Sarah Drew, who lived only 4 houses apart in their neighborhood. But all teenage friendships, the girls fought with each other. When the two girls were getting along, the Meyers would allow Megan to vacation with the Drews. Within this time period, Megan would tell Sarah that she needed time alone and didn't want to hang out with her anymore. Sarah felt rejected, which made Sarah and Sarah's mother, Lori Drew, very upset. I'll come back to that. What could make this story better but then a boy? Here is where Josh Evans steps in. Josh Evans moved to O'Fallon, Missouri in mid-September. He lived with his single mother and didn't have a phone. He lived 4 miles away from Megan, and they met on MySpace. Now, Megan just recently got permission to join MySpace. And what I mean by permission is that Tina Meier just didn't say, oh, okay, or not even know about her child using MySpace. It was quite the opposite. Tina and Ron Meier were very involved parents with Megan's life because of her depression. Tina and Ron decided to allow Megan to have a MySpace account on their terms. Ron was wary, but Tina thought it was wiser to accede to Megan's request to create an account and monitor it rather than have her teenager go behind their backs and create an account on her own. On September 13th, 2006, the profile for a Megan Baby, BABI, female 14 years old, Ghetto Street, St. Louis, Missouri, United States, went live. For her instant message name, Megan chose Pretty and Bling 16. She wasn't really 16. She wrote, "I'm an 8th grader at ICD school. I'm going to St. Dominic High School. I love to hip-hop dance. I love to shop. Yeah, there's really hot guys at my school, and they are fine." Tina expressed these 5 rules for the use of MySpace. 1. Tina and Ron were the only ones that knew the password to the account. 2. She could only log on with their permission and only on the shared family computer, not in her room by herself. And usually, Tina would log her on and then walk away. 3. Her page must be set to private. So that means all of her friend requests would have to be okayed by Tina or Ron. Usually Tina was the most involved in that stage. 4. Ron and Tina had the final say over the content she posted. 5. They also used a tracking program to monitor it as well, so that they could see any messages sent or received. And this also piggybacked off of the AOL Messenger that was connected to her account. So Tina had access to that as well. Now, let's meet the Drew gang. Lori Drew, the adult mother of Sarah Drew, and Ashley Grill, an 18-year-old employee of Lori Drew. Megan knew both women because she was so close to the Drew family. In fact, Tina Drew, a real estate agent, was the acting realtor for Lori Drew's house on Waterford Crystal Drive in Dardenne Prairie, Missouri. Lori also ran a successful advertising business called the Drew Advantage that Tina placed ads in. Ashley Grill was close to the Drew family and worked for Lori Drew in her house. Lori's business was home-based, so Ashley was frequently at the Drews. I don't believe that Ashley was a close friend to Megan, but she certainly knew her and conversed with her on several occasions. In 2006, social media was just beginning to take hold, and MySpace was the forefront, most popular platform among teens. Megan, like many of her peers, spent time chatting with her friends and meeting new people online. Megan's parents, Ron and Tina, moved Megan from the public schooling and enrolled her into the private Catholic school, Immaculate Conception. This move was very beneficial to Megan. She lost weight, made new friends, and started participating in sports. She wanted to use a MySpace account just as her new friends from school were using. She wanted to combine her new friends with her old friends that she left behind in the public schooling. With this change also came the appreciation of Megan and Sarah. With a new school, a new environment, and new friends, Megan and Sarah drifted apart, and Megan eventually told Sarah that she needed space. Remember that? On September 16, 2006, Megan, under the watchful eye of her mother, created the MySpace account. After convincing her parents to create the online profile for herself, she added all of her new friends from her private school, but did not include Sarah Drew. One day in mid-September, she received a friend request from a boy named Josh Evan. Remember Josh? The boy 4 miles away. He was attractive, charming, and seemed genuinely interested in getting to know Megan. Megan was thrilled until everything changed. In mid-September, Megan received that friend request and saw his picture, read his bio, and informed and begged her mom to be able to accept his friend request. Tina allowed to accept the friend request. Josh Evans' hot picture came with an emotional background and inviting aspirations that attracted Megan right away. Was a music lover. His dad left at the age of 7. His mother was doing the best she could financially to support her and Josh. He didn't attend public school. He was homeschooled. And under the section in MySpace, the goal you would like to achieve stated, meet a great girl. He was looking for a girl with long brown hair, and weight didn't bother him. He wanted a commitment. For weeks, Megan and Josh exchanged messages. She believed she had found a connection. Josh even put up Megan's picture and labeled it his girlfriend. He complimented her on her eyes, smile, hair, and attitude. The two chatted about Megan's school activities, friends, and things going on in her life. Megan was thrilled to have the attention that Josh was giving her. Her life was suddenly turning around. She found herself finally fitting in and feeling accepted. She was planning her 14th birthday party and had made invitations to hand out in school. She had wanted Josh to come to this party since they had never met. On Sunday, October 15th, 2006, Megan received a cryptic response from Josh. I don't know if I want to be friends anymore because I've heard that you are not very nice to your friends. She showed her mother Tina and asked for advice on the situation. Tina told her not to get worried, but ask him for clarification. Megan replied, "What are you talking about?" There was no response from Josh at the time, and Megan was encouraged to sign off of MySpace for the night. Her mother explained that they both had a busy day on Monday. Megan had to be handing out invitations for an upcoming birthday party, and her sister had a dental appointment right after school. The following day, Megan handed out the invitations to her birthday party at school. All her classmates responded positively that they would be there. The party looked like it would be a huge turnout. Yet, Megan was on edge about the message from Josh the previous night. She couldn't get it out of her head. She tried to get into MySpace from the school library, but couldn't because of the internet blocking software implemented by the school. She would have to wait until she got home. When she got home, she immediately asked her mother to log her onto MySpace to see if Josh had responded. Why did he suddenly think she was mean? Who had he been talking to? Tina signed on to MySpace for Megan and got ready to take her younger daughter, Allison, to the orthodontist. She could see that Megan was still upset with Josh's messages, but she was pressed for time and recalled Megan telling her to sign off. So she walked out of the house without signing this off because she was in a hurry. Megan said, "Okay, I will, Mom, and let me finish up." Once at the orthodontist's office, Tina called and asked, "Did you sign off?" "No, Mom, they are all being so mean to me." "You are not listening to me, Megan. Sign off now." 15 minutes later, Megan called her mother in tears. "They are posting bulletins about me. Megan Meier is a slut. Megan Meier is fat." Tina was furious that she had not signed off. "Sign off now," she told Megan. Once Tina returned home, she rushed to the computer to see all the messages. She was upset at all the nasty messages, but was shocked at the vulgar language her daughter was firing back with. Tina was upset that her daughter had continued to stay on MySpace when she was told to log out. "I'm so aggravated at you doing this," Tina said, and Megan replied, "You're supposed to be my mom. You're supposed to be on my side," and left the room. She bounded up the steps to her room. Ron grabbed her as she pushed by, and he asked what was wrong. She told me that some kids were saying horrible stuff about her, and she didn't understand why. I told her, okay, they obviously don't know you, and that everything would be fine. He proceeded downstairs to help Tina with supper, and it was time to start to prepare food in the kitchen. They both discussed what had happened with MySpace accounts while preparing dinner. Ron was not happy with the idea of Megan continuing the online account, and Tina explained all the various ways that it was being monitored. And it was part of Megan's birthday gift as well. She had pleaded to start the account as part of her birthday gift. 20 minutes went by and Tina froze in mid-sentence. She said, "I had this god-awful feeling," and she ran upstairs into Megan's room. She had hung herself in the closet. Tina let out a blood-curdling scream. Megan had used a cloth belt Tina had just bought her at Old Navy to hang herself from a closet organizer. Tina saw her immediately, as Megan had recently persuaded Ron to take the doors off her closet, replacing them with a pair of translucent purple curtains. Ron rushed up to the room, wondering what was happening, and saw his dangling daughter in the closet. He had to rip the closet organizer from the wall to bring Megan down from the closet. Tina returned with a knife to cut the belt off her neck and then called 911. Ron performed CPR as they waited for the ambulance with paramedics to arrive. She was resuscitated before being pushed into the ambulance, but the next day she died. It was 3 weeks before her 14th birthday. As ambulance raced down Waterford Crystal Drive, Michelle Mulford's telephone rang. It was Lori Drew on the other end, who asked for Mulford's daughter, Jessie Mulford. Jessie Mulford took the phone and listened as Lori Drew told her, "Something's happened to Megan. Keep your mouth shut." After the death of Megan, Ron returned home from the hospital intent on finding out more information about Josh Evans. He logged on into MySpace only to find that the account was deleted, entirely gone. He could not find any evidence of Josh Evans except for a few of the text messages at the very end that were saved on the AOL Messenger site. In their time of grieving, the Drews extended a comforting hand and included them in their family events. Sarah was having a birthday party, and Lori invited Tina and Ron over to the party. Tina participated in Sarah's birthday party while Ron had to leave, too distraught with grief. Lori and Kurt Drew also attended Megan's funeral. After the funeral, the Meiers sought out a local grieving support group to heal. The family attended meetings held to support families with their losses. On November 25th, 2006, the Meiers received a call from one of the members in the support group that the Meiers needed to attend that night's meeting. It was very important for them to attend. They came to the meeting and recognized several friends at the meeting. They sat Ron and Tina down in the discussion group, and they told her about Lori Drew and Kurt Drew and Sarah Drew and how they were involved with this Josh Evans boy. In a cruel twist, the profile was created by Lori Drew, Sarah Drew, and Ashley Grills. The goal? To stalk Megan online and see if she was posting anything about Sarah Drew, since they were not friends anymore and not talking, and because Megan had moved to a new school and made new friends. At that meeting, Ron and Tina were informed that Josh Evans never existed. Another neighbor lady, Michelle Mulford, remember her? Her daughter got that phone call? Brought her daughter Jessie to the meeting to reveal this hoax to the Meiers. She explained that her daughter had been encouraged to join in the joke and was given the password to Josh Evans's MySpace account. And with that, Jessie Mulford was the one that messaged her about Josh not wanting to be friends. That was the one message that Jessie sent. Michelle informed the Meiers that Lori Drew laughed about it and said they were going to mess with Megan. Michelle Mulford had tried to persuade Lori to come forward to the Meiers, but Lori would not. The Mulford neighbors and friends returned home that night. The neighborhood was awake with the turmoil of the news. Someone must have called the Drews that night to tell them that Michelle and Jessie was going to reveal what she knew about the Drews. Ron Meier was in shock, and Tina was furious. Tina said on an iHeart Radio interview, "That's all I wanted to do. And when we drove back home, we had family and neighbors blocking the street so that we could not go down to the Drews' house, Lori Drew's house. And we pulled in the driveway and everybody was hysterical. Our family, our neighbors, everybody was sobbing and hysterical. Emotions were everywhere from everybody. From one person that would say, 'No, don't go down there,' and the other person would completely lose it and want to go down there. And I tried running down there several times and was held back."
The Meiers and the Drews had been neighbors. They knew each other. Tina and Ron were even hiding a foosball table in their garage for the Drews so they could surprise their kids with it at Christmas. Lori Drew had gone to Megan's wake and funeral.
This was also the same woman that when after Megan died, we went and knocked on their door and told Sarah, because we wanted her to know, to try to make sure she could be okay. The same family that invited us to Sarah's birthday party to come down to their house to sing and have cake, which was 3 days after Megan's birthday, to sit there and watch us in absolute misery.
Tina and Ron thought about the foosball table that they were holding for the Drews.
We grabbed, it sounds ridiculous now, but we grabbed the foosball table and one of us had a sledgehammer, one of us had an axe, and we destroyed the foosball table, put it in the back of Ron's truck. The big cardboard box, I spray painted Merry Christmas on it. We drove down the street. We unloaded it all behind their van and put the box there. Came back home. And Lori Drew, her husband, and Sarah Drew, they sent Sarah in front of them, walked down the sidewalk with their hands in the air of, "What's going on? What's happening?" And they had, our neighbors went and told them if they knew what was good for them, that they would leave and go home. They sent then Sarah Drew, the 14-year-old now, to our front door to knock on our door to talk to us. And Ron told her to go home. Do not come back here again. Go home. Lori Drew then called the police department to file charges against us for destruction of personal property. And at that time is when Lori Drew told the police department, the police officer in the police report, why all of this was happening, that she created a fake account to gain Megan's confidence, to find out if Megan was talking about her daughter behind her back. And that is the sole reason.
Lori Drew confessed, but it didn't change the fact that Megan was gone, and her loss had major repercussions. Losing Megan took a toll on Tina and Ron's marriage. They had been high school sweethearts, but trauma changes relationships. People don't always grieve the same way. They separated in 2007. And in addition to the grief, Tina felt incredible rage toward the Drews.
I would literally go back home and pray at night to give me the strength to not go down to hurt them, because I would see them driving on the streets, taking their kids to school, acting like life was just normal again.
That night, because of the Meiers' actions, Lori Drew called the police, and in her statement to the police, confessed about the MySpace dupe. The police report stated, Lori Drew stated in the months leading up to Meier's daughter's suicide, she instigated and monitored a MySpace account, which was created for the sole purpose of communicating with Meier's daughter. Lori said she, with the help of a temporary employee named Ashley Grills, constructed a profile of a good-looking male on MySpace in order to find out what Megan, Meier's daughter, was saying online about her daughter, Sarah. Lori explained the communication between the fake male profile and Megan was aimed at gaining Megan's confidence and finding out what Megan felt about her daughter, Sarah, and other people. Lori stated she, her daughter, Sarah, and Ashley Grills all typed, read, and monitored the communication between the fake male profile and Megan. According to Lori, somehow other MySpace users could access the fake male profile. I wonder how that happened. Somehow. And Megan found out that she had been duped. Lori stated she knew arguments and had broken out between Megan and others on MySpace. Lori felt this incident contributed to Megan's suicide, but she did not feel as guilty because at the funeral, she found out Megan had tried to commit suicide before. But a St. Charles County Sheriff's Department spokesman, Lieutenant Craig McGuire, said that what Mrs. Drew did might be rude, it might have been immature, but it wasn't illegal. In response to the events, the local board of aldermen unanimously passed a measure making internet harassment a misdemeanor, punishable by up to $500 fine and 90 days in jail. So I guess that was supposed to make the community feel a little bit better. In testimony, Jay Sung, a vice president of customer care at MySpace, said, the popular site requires users to check a box, agreeing to the rules as part of its efforts to create an environment where users feel safe. We need to create some of these rules to ensure that, he said. Sung's testimony addressed a central aspect of the prosecution case, alleging that Drew violated MySpace terms by harassing Megan and setting up a fake account. Sung said imposter profiles, such as the Josh Evans account, in this case, are not allowed under MySpace guidelines. What happens when they are found? Assistant U.S. Attorney Mark Caruso asked. We generally delete those profiles, Sung said. Sung said MySpace now has 400 million profiles for users, which makes it difficult to enforce the service rules. Now, of course, as everyone knows, MySpace is no longer on the internet. It slowly declined after 2008 with the evolution of Facebook. Through 2011 to 2019, it was sold many times and revamped with the last version in 2022, trying to attract the audience of musicians and music lovers with news and articles of bands, songs, and festival happenings. One big question is, were there any red flags that this boy was not real? A large one was that he could never meet her anywhere or call her because they didn't have a phone. I found some other information that one day Tina was online and Josh instant messaged her thinking it was Megan. And so it went through the AOL correspondence. That day, Josh was Ashley Grill. Tina typed a message back saying, "Hey, I think you're a little old for my daughter." Josh apologized and quickly logged off. Tina says that she called the police to find out whether Josh was legitimate, to no avail. How can they check with MySpace and check this online presence? She recalled Megan then wrote to Josh, "Hey, my mom contacted the Popos to see if you were real or not." And Josh responded back, "She's probably just trying to protect you." To that response to Tina was another red flag, because quite usually a 16-year-old would just say, "What a biatch."
Did you have any idea at any point, Tina, that this was not a 16-year-old boy named Josh that your daughter was conversing with? Any red flags?
There were red flags, but they weren't big enough. There were enough red flags where I did make a call to the local police department to find out how can you find if a MySpace account is real or not. There's no real way. I certainly had that gut feeling, but it wasn't enough it was just that nervous mom.
But the Meiers say the FBI investigated the matter, analyzed the family computer, and conducted interviews. However, Ron said one of the stumbling blocks that the FBI could not retrieve the electronic messages from Megan's final days, including the last message that Ron saw. They couldn't retrieve it from MySpace. They had it on AOL. The Meiers did not file a civil lawsuit. Instead, they wanted the law changed in the state or federal so that it wouldn't happen to another Megan again. In the final verdict, Lori Drew was indicted and convicted by a jury of violations of the Computer Fraud and Abuse Act in 2008. Her conviction was vacated by a federal judge on a post-trial verdict on grounds that the Computer Fraud and Abuse Act did not intend to criminalize the conduct of which Drew was accused. The government chose not to appeal this post-trial ruling, so all charges were dropped. When the truth behind Josh Evans was uncovered, the public was outraged. But at the time, there were no specific laws against that kind of harassment. The case led to a legal battle, sparking debates on cyberbullying laws and internet accountability. If you Google Megan Meier story 2008, you'll see all kinds of news stories. I read every one of them. Megan's story became a painful yet powerful lesson about the dangers of online cruelty. In response, Megan's parents, Tina and Ron Meier, became advocates for cyberbullying awareness, pushing for stricter laws and educational initiatives. Megan's legacy is a reminder that words, especially online, carry weight, and that kindness can be the difference between life and death. Tina Meier became a dedicated advocate against cyberbullying after the tragic suicide of her daughter. She has taken numerous actions to educate the public and push for legislative changes, including 1. She founded the Megan Meier Foundation in 2007. It is a nonprofit organization focused on educating young people, parents, and educators about the dangers of cyberbullying and digital safety. She travels and gives speeches and engagements. She has traveled across the U.S. speaking at schools, conferences, and community events to raise awareness about cyberbullying. She holds workshops and training programs that are developed for educational programs for students, educators, and parents to help them recognize, prevent, and respond to cyberbullying. She has had various media appearances. She has shared the Megan story on national platforms such as Oprah, Dr. Phil, Good Morning America, and various news outlets to highlight the dangers of online harassment. And she has collaborated with social media platforms and several companies to improve online safety measures and anti-cyberbullying initiatives. In the legislative and policy efforts, she advocated for the Missouri cyber harassment law, which was passed in 2008. It helped push Missouri legislators to expand harassment laws to include online communications and cyberbullying. She influenced the federal Megan Meier Cyberbullying Prevention Act, introduced in 2009, and supported the proposed legislation that sought to criminalize cyberbullying at the federal level. That did not pass. She testified before legislation. She spoke about the state and federal lawmakers to advocate for stronger cyberbullying law and digital safety policies during that event during 2009. She worked with law enforcement and policymakers, especially in her hometown, and assisted in shaping policies that addressed digital harassment and responsible online behavior. Tina Meier has remained a strong advocate for protecting children and teens from online bullying and using both education and legal action to create lasting charges. The federal Megan Meier Cyberbullying Prevention Act was a bill introduced in the U.S. House of Representatives in 2009 by Congresswoman Linda Sanchez. It aimed to make cyberbullying a federal crime by criminalizing the use of electronic communications to intentionally cause substantial emotional distress. Key provisions of the Act: creation of a federal cyberbullying crime. The bill proposed making it a criminal offense to use electronic means such as internet, email, or text messages to intentionally cause substantial emotional distress to someone. Penalties: if convicted, offenders could face up to 2 years in prison, fines, or both. Scope of the law: the law would apply to cyberbullying activities that involved intentional harassment, intimidation, or threats using electronic communication. It was inspired by the Megan Meier case. The bill was named after Megan Meier, the 13-year-old girl who died in the suicide case 2006, involving adult posing as a teenage boy on MySpace. The bill was introduced in April 2009 but did not pass in Congress. It faced opposition due to concerns over free speech and the First Amendment, as critics argued that it could lead to government overreach in regulating online speech. Even though the federal Megan Meier Cyberbullying Prevention Act was not enacted into law, it played a significant role in raising awareness about cyberbullying and influenced state-level cyber harassment laws. Many states later strengthened their anti-bullying policies as a result of the increased intention of digital safety and online harassment. I want to leave with a few messages with actions that you can do to get help if you feel stalked or cyberbullied. If you or someone you know is struggling, please know that you are not alone. There is help, there is hope, and your life matters. Let's keep the conversation going. Let's stand against bullying. And most importantly, let's choose kindness. The National Suicide Prevention Lifeline, 1-800-273-TALK. The call is free and available 24 hours. There is a National Crime Prevention Council through their telephone number, 202-466-6272. In the event that individuals wish not to be named, reports cyberbullying can be conducted anonymously.
There are no federal bullying laws. And in the states, there's not bullying laws because it's put really more under the policies and procedures. So each school is supposed to have policies and procedures and training on anti-bullying. Cyberbullying does have laws. It's in every single state, but they're very, very hard to really get prosecuted because you're really looking at how can you prove who is behind the technology. And there are some states that are really doing a much better job and improving that, but it still is not an easy road to get convictions on that. To find any updates on any of the state laws, the place I usually go to is stopbullying.gov. Because when you look on there, they have all of the updates and any pending legislation. So you can go on there, you can click your state, you can then be able to look at what laws and what policies they have in place. And then you can click to see even further, is there any other legislation pending in your state? Is it something that you want to get involved with, something that you want to be able to join and you believe is a really important cause? But stopbullying.gov is definitely that go-to that I look for any updates on laws and policies.
Thank you for viewing, and it's That Mama. Bye-bye.